Can you teach someone with dyslexia to read? Yes. There's been this rumour going around, which is like, if you do not teach someone with dyslexia by like 7 or 9, then they never learn to read ever. No. You can learn to read at any time in life, just like you can learn to read, you can learn another language. It gets harder the older you get, but of course you can still do it. There's this assumption that people with dyslexia cannot read. They find it a bit more difficult. No, I take that back. They find certain ways of doing it difficult, and those certain ways they just tend to be the way that our culture tends to teach people. I mean, if I take myself for example, I didn't really speak at all until I was like 5. That's really late. And I couldn't read until I was 11. Now, I love reading. Give me a book. I love it. Can't get enough of it. But it took me a while. And I think that's the thing. So if you have dyslexia, if you're a parent with a child who has it, understand that they do it in their own time. But what's really important is that you do not push them too much, because they'll end up hating reading. You don't want to create this negative relationship with books. It's just like anything in life, you know, if you, for instance, hate painting and your parents are always like, go do some painting, you'll hate it in the end. Or like, go clean your room, do some cooking. If you're just allowed to be creative and experiment, it then can become a passion of yours. Just because someone finds something a bit more difficult doesn't mean they are destined to not like it. If you want to teach someone with dyslexia to learn to read, allow their brain to do it in a way that works for them. If they make a few mistakes, just let them carry on. If they add words that aren't there, let them carry on. If you're stopping and starting, the brain is getting frustrated. If you just let them to get that creativity out on the page or verbally out, it's a far better way of doing things. A way that I taught myself to read was through audiobooks, right? So when I read, I find certain words really hard to read, like names. In Harry Potter, McGonagall. I couldn't read that, so I made McGonagall, or you know, I made a different word up, or I replaced it. So rather than Professor McGonagall, maybe I put Professor Jenny. Totally different, but did it make any difference to the overall book? No. Now, if someone was listening to me read, they'd correct me, and I'd get frustrated and I'd put the book down. But if I was allowed to do it in my own way, I'd carry on. So another way that I do things, and I know other people do, is through audiobooks. When you've got dyslexia, you might read, and the brain kind of glitches out, and then you go like, oh, I've got to read again. I've got to read the page again and again and again. But when I got the audiobook in, I read like a microsecond faster. So every time my brain glitches out, the audiobook kicks me up the bum, and I'm back on track. And I'm constantly like hearing the words as I'm reading it, so it's starting to get into the brain and get more like cemented. There's a lot of different ways to teach someone with dyslexia. If one way doesn't work, try another way, and if that way doesn't work, try a different way. Whatever you do not give up, and do not force them to do it in a way which doesn't work for them. Where other people just flick through a page like that, and they're done, I take time, I take energy, and I think at the end of the day, my comprehension is a lot stronger as a result of it. You can teach people with dyslexia to read.